Welcome, everyone, to this edition of Our Travel Experiences. I'm your host, Kyle Rasmussen, and today is episode 80. So that's really, another exciting milestone to hit. And as I do every 5 episodes, I have one of my stories or travel experiences that I share. But today I thought I'd do something different. So obviously, I wrote a book. I have the audiobook out as well. And I'm I'm trying to sell the book, to be honest with you, and the audiobook. And I wasn't really sure, what story I should share because I've shared a bunch at this point. And so I thought I'd change it up, do something a little bit different. So today I have a few pieces of my audiobook um, that I'm sharing here. So I'm just going to share a couple chapters with you. And if you like it, if you're interested in the audiobook or purchasing a physical copy, then I will have the link in the description at the bottom of this episode. But my audiobook is available everywhere. It's on Audible, it's on Libro.fm, it's on like 50 other audiobook websites. It's super inexpensive. I think it's just under $14 on all the websites. So not too bad at all. And I think it's a lot of fun. I listened to it myself, and I thought I was going to absolutely hate it, but I actually kind of enjoyed it. It's weird hearing my voice, but I actually thought it sounded pretty good. And, I enjoyed listening back to my writing, which probably sounds weird, but yeah. So one of the fun things that I did with the audiobook, I wanted to do it just to give a little bit more insight and share something a little bit different. So I actually, at the end of each chapter, I have a podcast um, that's usually just a few minutes long, but just provides further explanation, a little bit of background into the writing process, how I wrote the chapter, that sort of thing. And then I also have one that I share all the pictures that are in the actual book, which is a lot of fun too. But yeah, so this episode is just going to be a little bit of that audiobook. I think all in all, the audiobook is just under 6 hours, including that little over 30 minutes of podcast altogether. If you add up all the podcasts in between chapters. So I hope you guys enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions. If you're interested in buying a book, reach out to me and I'll get one to you, a signed copy. And yeah, we'll go from there. So enjoy the episode and keep traveling, everyone. I'll see you somewhere around the world soon. Welcome, everyone, to this presentation of Travel Tips, a 20-something's comprehensive guide for traveling in the modern world by Kyle Rasmussen. I'm the author, Kyle Rasmussen, and I'm very excited to present this book to you. I'm very excited to do this audiobook. It's been a dream of mine for years to not only write a book, but to do an audiobook version as well. So I'm very excited to do this, and got a little fun twist for you. I got this idea from David Goggins, who presented his audiobook while doing a podcast in between each chapter. And so I'm going to do something similar to that as I read through this book here. So you'll get a little bit extra insight, a little bit more details on the different stories that I have in here, and just things that have changed in the couple of years since I started writing this book. So let's jump into it, guys. I'm really looking forward to it. Hope you enjoy. Introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Kyle Rasmussen. I'm 26 years old, and I'm an avid traveler. At the time of this writing, I have traveled to 25 countries on 5 continents, as well as 46 of the 50 US states. While that resume far surpasses the average amount of travel that someone has done, especially at 26 years old, it is far less than many people out there. I have a lot of experience traveling, but I haven't experienced everything or every place when it comes to travel. Therefore, I encourage you all not to take my word as law. These pages describe my thoughts and opinions based on my personal experiences. I hope that it provides the reader with some insight into the world of travel
and inspires one to get out there and explore. How did I become an avid traveler? I grew up in Yakima, Washington, a small city in south central Washington state. Where the heck is that, you might ask? Almost everyone I meet does. It is about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive southeast of Seattle, Washington, about a 3 to 3.5 hour drive northeast of Portland, Oregon, about a 3.5 hour drive southwest of Spokane, Washington, and about a 6 hour drive southeast of Vancouver, British Columbia. Why explain all of that? I was so close to many large, famous cities, but was also far enough away, especially due to the Cascade Mountain Range, that it was a bit difficult to get to any of those cities. This became important in my growing love for travel because it was always an experience to go to a place like Seattle for the day or weekend. There was an excitement that my family and I were getting to experience a new place, and we had to travel to get there. Growing up, I was extremely lucky. My parents were solidly middle class, my extended family was very supportive and loving, and I never had to worry about food, clothes, or any basic need being met. It was a cushy childhood, and along with that came opportunities. I had the opportunity through sports, family vacations, and other events to travel outside my immediate radius. I remember taking road trips to Reno, Nevada for basketball tournaments in elementary school. I remember going to Disneyland and other areas of Southern California for family vacations. I remember the road trips out to Wyoming for hunting and down to Boulder, Colorado to see family. Traveling as a kid was the best. I didn't have to pay for anything during the trip. I got to see so much of the Western US. I got to see the diversity of the landscape and the people as locations changed. My favorite part of traveling as a kid, though, was the hotels. I loved getting to live the hotel life. It was always exciting to jump on the beds, see what was on the TV, and of course, check out the hotel pool. The buffet breakfasts were always a wonderful experience as well. I remember my sister and I being so excited about the waffle makers. Still am. Traveling was a glorious adventure as a kid. On top of the excitement as a kid, I think I really realized that I loved traveling when I realized that I loved flying as much as anything. Almost every person I meet tells me how much they hate flying and the stress of flying. Yes, flying is not the most fun thing in the world, but for me, I have honestly really enjoyed the 250 plus flights that I have been on. I can't put my finger on exactly why I enjoy the airport experience so much. I think most of us know that going through TSA, especially at 5 o'clock in the morning, is never the most pleasant experience. But I think once beyond that, it is great. I think for me, as an introvert, it is a fun experience to grab a coffee or a bite to eat and sit down to read a good book while people watching. It is fun to see all the different types of people going to all the different types of places. I can almost create backstories in my head. And ever since I was a kid, the actual flying part has been magical. Getting to see the Earth from 36,000 feet immensely changes a person's perspective on life. In this book, I have devoted a whole chapter on flying, so more on this to come. The first big trip that I would say I took was when I was a freshman in high school, I think. Right around that age, anyways. My mom, dad, sister, and I went to Maui, Hawaii. It was the first trip where we had to fly more than 3 hours. It was the first time that I crossed a large body of water, and the first time I experienced a setting entirely different from my own. I still remember a lot of the trip very vividly. We stayed in a beautiful condo complex in Kihei, just steps from the Pacific. It was a breathtakingly beautiful location. My family and I lived it up during that week. We took a helicopter tour around the island, went to a luau, snorkeled, and anything else you could imagine a family would do in Hawaii. It was also the 4th of July when we were there, so getting to see the fireworks over the water surrounded by hundreds of people was an awesome experience. We truly lived the island life, the touristy island life. That trip had a major impact on me. It was a wake-up call that there were a lot of incredible places out there to be seen. It showed me that I could have some amazing, unique experiences in other parts of the world from my home, and that ultimately, those would change me and give me a more fulfilling life. I remember standing in line at the airport in Maui, and my mom asked what was wrong. Apparently, I looked very sad and distressed. All I could tell her was that I didn't want to leave. That statement was just the tip of the iceberg. I still remember having this intense sadness, almost to the point of depression, about having to go back to my normal life at home, where I did essentially the same things every day, saw the same people, and had the same experiences. I was sad to not be able to have more unique, impactful experiences on Maui or one of the other islands. It was rough, but it fanned the flames of a blossoming fire deep in my soul to explore as much of this earth as possible. And now, over a decade later, I have more than made up for that pain of having to go back to my normal life. I've traveled over a large portion of the world and experienced more things than a majority of the world's population. I have lived countless lives and packed as much as I could into my time here on Earth so far. This book is meant to share those experiences with you. It is meant to give you the tools that you need to get as much as you can out of your travels. And it is meant to inspire you to see this amazing, incredible, beautiful world that we live in. I hope my words make a positive impact on your world and change the trajectory of your life for the better. One of my goals with this book is to make it like an ongoing conversation. My plan at the moment is to revisit this book in 5 to 10 years, with the assumption that I have packed in a lot of travel during those years, as well as grown as a person. I know that I am not at the level of expertise of someone like Rick Steves or someone who has been to all 197 countries around the world when it comes to travel. My guess is that over the years, I will continue to grow and evolve in my thoughts on travel, and of course, will have new experiences to share. I think with anything, whether it be politics, travel, or anything else, it is always best to come in with an open mind and being confident enough in yourself to know that you may be wrong or your view may change. I'm excited to go on this journey with you all, and I hope you all will get some enjoyment out of it as well. Enjoy. All right, that was the introduction. So I've put that story of going to Maui, Hawaii in there because I really do feel that that was kind of a catalyst for my future love of travel. I always enjoyed traveling as a kid. I loved every second of it. I loved the road trips. I loved being in the car. I loved going to the hotels. It was all amazing. The flying, all of it. And so, going to Hawaii, that was a really big trip for us. That was the first time we really went somewhere very far away and very different from the Western U.S. And we did so many fun things there. I really thank my parents for taking my sister and I on that trip and for showing us all of these exciting things. The helicopter ride was amazing. That was the first time I rode in a helicopter. I got to see all the waterfalls around the island. We just played in the water all the time. We had a bunch of good food. We enjoyed the sunshine, everything. It was awesome. And I really did not want to leave. I still remember really just not wanting to leave and go home from that trip. So that was a really big trip. I think I was around like freshman, eighth grade. So that was, I was 14, 13, 14, somewhere in there, which I feel like was a very, important time in my life to go on a trip like that. It's still very vivid in my memory. So yeah, we had a ton of fun there. Would definitely go back. I need to go back. I have not been to Hawaii since that time. So I think it's time that I head back there soon. But yeah, going back to the first part of it with living in Yakima. Uh, Yakima as a kid was not my favorite place, and I was always seeking to go elsewhere. So it was always a fun adventure to go travel to a different city like Seattle or Portland or Spokane as a kid. And I think wanting to get out and see something different from my hometown was a driving force as well in in developing my love for travel. So yeah, it was just we were just far enough away that it was a trip to get to a place like Seattle, which now I make that commute a lot. But yeah, so those are the kind of building blocks for me developing that love for travel. And just to update, so when I first started writing this book, this was the first part that I wrote. I was 26 at the time, now 27 as I'm recording this. I had traveled to 25 countries on 5 continents. Now I'm at 30 countries on 6 continents. And at the time of the writing, I had traveled to 46 of the 50 states. I've now traveled to all 50. So some updates there and some new experiences that I think, just in the time that I started writing this book, I would say my views on travel have changed a little bit, which is why I put that in at the end of the introduction to keep an open mind and realize that things change. I understand that as I get older, as my life changes, my views are going to change, and my idea of what's fun when it comes to traveling will probably change as well. So, I really stress that. I want that to come across in there, is that none of this is set in stone. This is all just based on my experiences at the time, at the age I was when I went on these experiences, and how it's kind of shaped my mindset for other travels. Service-based travel. There are many different types of traveling, but service-based traveling has got to be one of the most rewarding. I haven't been able to do much service-based travel, but I would love to do more in the future. One of the most rewarding experiences of my life was the service-based trip that I took to Guatemala. My freshman year of college, I had the opportunity to go on a trip put on by one of the professors at San Diego State University to Guatemala over spring break. The goal was to teach English and bring school supplies to a small school in the hills outside of Chichicastenango, a rural town in western Guatemala. It was an incredible trip. We spent the first couple days in Guatemala City and Antigua, a town not too far from Guatemala City. We learned a bit about the history and culture of Guatemala and got a nice introduction into the country. Then we headed to Chichicastenango, where we spent the next 4 days teaching English at a school there. I didn't, and still don't speak Spanish very well, so I had a tough time trying to teach. What I ended up spending most of my time doing was playing soccer in the schoolyard with all of the kids. Even the little kids kicked my butt. It was a ton of fun getting to interact with the kids, and they were so excited that we were there. We got some firsthand accounts of what life was like for many Guatemalans there, and got to walk through one family's home. It was heart-wrenching to see what their everyday lives looked like. Many of the kids that were in the class I helped teach, 3rd and 4th grade, wore the same clothes every day that we were there. Some of the kids couldn't attend every day that we taught because they had to help their family with some sort of work to help put food on the table. Many of the kids had no supplies. It was hard to see. We walked through one of the family's homes, which was one rectangular structure, about 20 feet in length, 10 or so feet in width, and maybe a height of 7 feet. It was one room with a dirt floor and a blanket used as a curtain to make 2 separate rooms. I can't remember the exact number of people who lived in there, but I believe it was the grandma of the family, parents, an adult child and his wife and young kid, and 3 other younger children. 9 people altogether were living in that tiny room. As a family, they were excited because they had just installed a wood stove in their kitchen, which was a tiny room about 3 feet away from the rest of the house. They were excited about it because they no longer had to cook over an open fire, which was hot and dangerous. The adult child's wife was there when we took the tour, and she was busy hand knitting a beautifully intricate decorative towel. We watched her knit for a little while. It was amazing to see how quick she was and how perfect all the little details were. We were told that making those towels was her full-time job, and she sold them at the local market every week for something like 50 pesos, about $4 or $5 at the time. She said that she was able to complete 2 a week. Yes, they were that detailed and that much work that she only made 2 per week. It would take me months to make one. The gut-wrenching part of the story is that if she was able to sell one of them each week, the family would have enough money to buy food for the next week. If she was able to sell 2, they would have a little extra money to maybe buy a new shirt for one of the family members, or something like that. If she didn't sell any, the family was in for a tough week ahead. It was horrific to hear that their situation was so dire that one of those towels made the difference between them getting to eat or not. They were one of the better off families in the area. I was shell-shocked during the visit to that home and my entire time that we were there. It was hard to see what normal life was like for those Guatemalans. They had nothing that we have here in the US that we all expect to have. They made do with the little they did have and got on the best they could. The amazing thing to me, though, was that they were some of the happiest people that I have ever met. They were so grateful for what they did have. They were simply happy to be alive, to have food at all to eat. They were happy that their country wasn't in a civil war. Guatemala had a long, bloody civil war during the late 20th century. One of the things that the group and I did as part of our service to the school we taught at is we all brought 50 pounds worth of school supplies, including 9 laptops for the school. We divvied up the school supplies among all of the kids. Oh man, you should have seen the smiles on those kids' faces when we handed each of them their school supplies. I will never forget that moment. They were grinning from ear to ear to get pencils, pens, paper, glue, crayons, and other basic school supplies. I don't know that my heart had ever felt fuller than it did on that day, in that moment. That experience changed my life forever. I always look back on that trip with great pride and understanding that I have a responsibility to do more things like that. I can leave this world in better shape than when I came into it. Experiencing a place like that taught me to be grateful for everything I have. I do my best to take nothing for granted. Everything I eat, everything I own, everything that I have means something to me. Everyone should go on some sort of service-based trip in their lives. It is immensely rewarding, and it would really open up people's eyes, minds, and hearts. The world is not the little box that we live in our day-to-day lives. There is so much more out there than what we see on the news or experience in our one small slice of the world. We are doing a disservice to the world by not traveling and not serving those less fortunate. My eyes were opened wider than I ever could imagine after that trip to Guatemala. I saw life in a completely different light. My material possessions became far less valuable to me. My appreciation for having a roof over my head and warm clothes to wear skyrocketed. I took so many lessons away from that trip, and I encourage everyone to do the same. If you have the opportunity, please go on one of those service-based trips. You certainly won't regret it. There are a variety of different ways that people can go on said trip. Some of the opportunities I know of are through your local church if you are religious, through a community service organization like Rotary, and through a nonprofit that assists communities around the world. You could also simply do it on your own. One of my long-term goals is to begin bringing things like school supplies and old clothes with me on trips to give to the poor communities to which I travel. That would be a very easy way to give back to the world. It wouldn't take much effort and would free up space in my suitcase to bring back souvenirs, which would also help some of the locals. An idea that I have formulated over the years since that trip, which I have heard mentioned once or twice by others since, is to at least encourage, if not require, all graduating high school seniors to take anywhere from a couple weeks to an entire year after graduating to go abroad. In addition to that, where they must go abroad is to a third world country like Guatemala. The trend in education these days is that students are coming into college less and less prepared for the college rigor and in terms of life experience. More and more students are being diagnosed with anxiety and depression, and the trends are only getting worse. In this day and age, most 18-year-olds aren't ready to deal with what comes after high school. We set so many people up for failure by forcing them to go to college and choosing a career path right away, while also saddling them with a mountain of student loan debt. Many people, including myself, would have benefited from a year abroad serving the world. I would have come into college more mature, more prepared, smarter, and with a completely different outlook on life. Even though I did get a ton out of college, I would have gotten even more out of it had I had that life experience first. This is just an idea, but it would be a somewhat simple way that the American government and society could invest in the future leaders and set so many more people up for success instead of failure. I'm curious to know what your thoughts on this are. Please reach out and let me know, as this may become my life project if it is popular enough. I would love to do whatever I can to help make life better for everyone here and abroad. Regardless of the idea above, there are many opportunities for service-based travel, and if it is something that interests you, I highly encourage you to seize one of those opportunities. It will fulfill you beyond anything you can imagine. Okay, that was the service-based travel chapter. This one was probably my favorite one to write. Uh, that trip to Guatemala, my freshman year of high school. So I think I just turned 19 at the time. Um, it was life changing. I came back a different person after that. I was just my eyes were opened. Before that, I had really only been to Western Europe and then parts of the U.S. So I hadn't really seen what poverty actually looks like, and it was tough. It was tough to see that family that we visited. It was tough to see just how precarious their situation was. I mean, every day was a struggle to to know if they had food to eat or not. And it's tough. It's tough to see that for sure. And to see how excited those kids were just to see someone that wasn't from there. And then to get basic things like pencils and pens and stuff like that. It was it was just really rewarding for me, and I know it made an impact at least in those kids' lives, and hopefully changed their life for the better. Now it's been shoot 8 years, 8 years. Wow, holy moly, 8 years since as I'm recording this since I went there and went on that trip. I would love to see where those and fourth graders that I taught where they're at now. I'd love to see what their lives are like. I mean, hopefully they've been able to you know to go on to success. But yeah, service-based travel is super rewarding. That's really what I want to do more and more of as I get older. I still, it's easy to couple it with some of my travel goals as well. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of great organizations that you can go through, whether it's through a local church, through a Rotary Club, and that actually Rotary does the youth exchange as well, which is a great way for kids to get to experience a new place and learn the culture of a new place for a semester or a year. And we bring people here to the U.S. as well. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities if you look for them. And so that's something I'm trying to do more and more of now. That's one of my goals with all of this travel stuff, with this book, with the podcast, with everything that I do, to hopefully build it enough that I can send money, or not send money, but send school supplies and stuff like that with the money that I make off of these things, uh, to go on a trip and take these like school supplies to kids in need, and things like that. Um, super rewarding for sure, and it's making people's lives better. Um, and I feel like it's a really great way to get to know a place too. I've had some really great conversations over just, hey, here's a little something that I have, and tell me about yourself, kind of thing. And I've met a lot of really cool people that way. I've since have after writing this book and the publishing process and everything, I've been to Morocco and Guatemala, or not Guatemala, but Cuba, which are two somewhat poorer countries, and to get to give some things to the people there, to see the smiles on their faces when they see us coming in, and just being a friendly face. I think that's just what we need more of, is just people being friendly to each other, no matter what you look like or what you believe in or anything like that. Um, just be friendly. One thing I've learned over all my travels is that humans are pretty much all the same. We all just want to live our lives and be happy, whatever that happiness looks like to each of us. Most people don't care about all the politics and the wars and all those things that the people in the governments at the very top are pushing. Most people just want to just want to be happy, and live pretty simple lives. So if you can just be a friendly face, I think that spreads positivity around the world, which makes the world better for everyone. Um, Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent there, but that's something that really means a lot to me. So that's service-based travel. I'm hoping to do more of it. If you know of any opportunities that you're looking to go on for service-based travel, let me know. I'd love to see if I can join too. But let's move on to the next chapter. Hey everybody, Kyle here. If you enjoyed today's show and want more, you can always check out every episode on Spotify, Anchor, YouTube, and now Amazon Music as well. Just search for Our Travel Experiences on any of those platforms and it will pop up. You can also find everything all in one place on my website, ourtravelexp.com. And if you want to see my travel pictures as well as travel pictures from guests on the show, you can check them out on Instagram. The page is called Our Travel Experiences Podcast. And if you want to share your own pictures on the Instagram page or be a guest on the podcast, you can message me via that Instagram page or email me at ourtravelexperiences@outlook.com. I would love to see your pictures and hear about your travel experiences, so please send them my way. And if that isn't enough for you, make sure to check out my weekly YouTube show, From Around the World Fridays. Every Friday, I'm taking 5 to 10 minutes to answer questions from listeners, share some souvenirs that I bought over the years, share my postcards over the years that I've accumulated, or share videos and pictures from one particular city or country that I visited, and so much more. So check it out, guys. You won't be disappointed. And make sure you go subscribe to that as well. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you somewhere around the world soon.